Welcome to another episode of Pixel Narratives with Anutosh. Continuing the conversation with Swapnanil Barua, we have now come to his latest publication, Guwahati. And we will be talking and trying to connect to the Guwahati of his time that he has penned down on this book. Sir, yes. About the book that you have written, right from the cover, and you can just share with us.
Well, I thought that, Guwahati was changing. Because Guwahati was changing, we had to sort of put it down on paper as to what Guwahati was before it changed so completely, especially after 1972 and again after the mid-1980s, when a lot of people from other places came in to Guwahati. So this was had to be documented, and I thought that I didn't have to look for references because I was a part of this city in those, let's say, late 1950s or the early, through the 60s, through the 70s and through the 80s. So during this period I thought that since so much has changed, what has changed for the future generations, they needed a reference point. And that was why I decided that this was the COVID period. We had nothing much to do. Let me recollect from my own memory as to what was Guwahati. I mean, what really made Guwahati what it is today? Well, I think Guwahati, as you all know, was the capital of Assam initially from 1838 to 1874. Then for 98 years, the capital was in Shillong. In 1972, it came down. There was a lot of changes that happened around that time. The first school of Assam, the school as we know in the modern day, was here, which is the Cotton Collegiate School, which was then called the Guwahati Seminary, which started in 1835, which initially started teaching in Assamese. Then subsequently from 1836 to 1874, we had Assamese removed from the schools, and so everyone started learning in Bangla. And then again in 1874, not because of the pressure of the Assamese people as such, but more so because of the pressure of the Christian missionaries that you had Assamese restored, because they could not speak to the people or communicate to the people of Assam, or particularly the Brahmaputra Valley, if they had limited it to Bangla. So they switched over to Assamese, and then whole things changed.
And
then you had
when you talk about change, the name of Guwahati, as we know today, how it has gone through a lot of changes.
I mean, spellings to
Guwahati,
Guwahati, G-O-W-H-A-T-T-Y.
Yeah.
But all said and done, the Guwahati, again, another problem about, then in the meantime I had gained experience of looking after the archaeology department and the historical and antiquarian studies. Then I was wondering that we all keep on talking about Pragjyotishpur.
Right.
Well, if Pragjyotishpur was a city of second century Mahabharata, then there would have been at least some buildings, some stone monuments, something to give an indication. So these kind of curiosities went over, and then I looked up the what is known as, the British are very particular about documenting a place whenever they go. We have this series of every district of Assam being recorded in what is known as the district gazetteer. So those were put into place. I looked up, and then I found out that Guwahati, the southern part of Guwahati and North Guwahati, there was a distinct division in between Guwahati, the south as we know of today, and North Guwahati. Well, Guwahati was basically a land of the hills. You had all the chawls. You had Nilachal, you have Shandachal, you have Ostachal, you have medical area, the Navagraha hills, the Chanmari hills, the Nunmati hills, and then you had all these beels around. Sola Beel was there. You had the other beel which is there in somewhere near the Kalakshetra, which is too much in controversy nowadays. Now,
talking about these bills, I remember I was a very small boy that time, and at night I found everyone was, it was raining very heavily, and we had fish all around in our campus when we were in Palermo, in the Newfield area. So then I came to realize that we have a chola bill, and all the other bills got connected, and we were getting fish on the
in
the compound.
Yes.
And everyone was busy catching the fish.
And you just had to take that Jivan Sathi or torch, if you remember. There was this steel metallic torch, and you just had to do that and take a bamboo pick, just sharpen it out a bit from. We didn't have fences then. It was bamboo fences. You just took out one stick from there, sharpened the edge, and then went on catching fish.
So that was the life in Guwahati.
That was life in Guwahati.
And like Newfield, because I have grown up in that area. Newfield did not have any wall.
It didn't have any wall.
So, and we, as students, we didn't have any other work after coming back from school, in no other engagement, just go to Newfield.
Yeah, because there was, if you remember, those big trees which were all around, and there was one small house and the firing range.
Right.
Assam Rifle Club was there.
That was the NCC.
NCC.
And that Newfield with lush green, everyone running, everyone playing there. There are 22, 23 pitches where everyone is playing cricket.
Everyone is playing cricket.
In different areas. And whose ball goes to whose spot, nobody bothers. And everybody is happy playing that. And we had the Bihu, where we had Khogen Mahanta, Archana Mahanta, Bhuben Nanda, and you had
all.
all
Yeah.
luminaries. Those times they used to
Remember,
come.
Benu Mishra and all were the organizing committee. Lagar,
Right.
Professor Lagar of Hendrick College, they were the organizers of the Newfield.
And one thing that I still remember.
And if you remember the Star Sporting Club at the Bend.
Yes. And one more thing that I remember is, I think you were that time most probably in Cotton College. You had your annual sports in Newfield,
Newfield.
and the entire Guwahati would stand on the road to see that, the march past and coming, all wearing blazers and beautiful. It was mostly in the month of December, January.
And if you remember the school tournament also.
Yes, all used to happen in Newfield.
Everything happened in Newfield.
And no restrictions, everybody could enter from any side.
And there was total discipline, but at the same time the intense rivalry.
Yes.
If it was a final match, let's say a match between Bengali school or maybe Cotton College school or DonBosco Cotton College, the intensity.
It was nothing less than the one day that we see nowadays. And we had this Durga Puja, which was sponsored. Those times we didn't have this word sponsored, but it was under his Chhatrashaya sort of thing. Himmat Singh, Gauri Himmat Singh, who was the main patron of that Durga Puja in Newfield. So we had lot of things, and then circus.
Bharat Circus.
Amar Circus, Bharat Circus, all circus used to come to Newfield before shifting to Judges Street. When the walls were created, that time the accessibility started
getting restricted.
And otherwise it was, till then it was open. We had circus, we had this fate and this giant wheel and things. That was Newfield.
Can you imagine? We think of Newfield now, but the Newfield dates back to the coming of the
British.
Mughals.
And even
if the Mughals, because that field was where they kept the horses, the astables, the stables of the horses were there in the Newfield. And if you remember, if you see the population pattern in and around, just opposite Bengali school,
yes,
there are a lot of Muslim people, the Shahs.
Because Muhammad Shah Road is the road in front of my house.
Yes.
So yes, you were that place is called Patan Bazaar.
That is where
that is the reason. Because the army must have been stationed there.
They were camped there, and the Shah family going all the way up from there to what was known as the auto distributor, the Nepali Mandir point.
Right.
You have a lot of Muslim population around that people who trace back their ancestry to the first Mughals who came.
Okay.
That was before Lasik Barpeta. When at a time Guwahati was also for a while under the Mughal patronage, and you had the Mughal Fauzdar staying in what was known as the Lotasil. The present Thana which you have is nearly 500 years old. It is just that the Mughal Thana continued, and when the British came and found that there was a ready-made Thana there,
so they made a police station.
So you find all the Muslim population along the Digholi Pukhuri Par
is still there.
They are still there.
That's a wonderful observation. I must say.
I mean, that is
how you have connected the past to the present. And it's a fact. Even the street in front of my ancestral house is called Muhammad Shah Road.
Yes,
it used to be called. Now I think the names are different.
And then imagine that small little house with the thatched roof.
Yeah.
BL Sen.
Yes.
Everyone knew that was a reference point of your Newfield area.
Yes.
Where is your house? Is it near BL Sen's house? You go along the road, or there was the Gaurav.
We were the neighbor. We were the neighbor that time. And my grandfather was the revenue Shrestadar at that time.
Because you have not worked in the civil establishment, the revenue Shrestadar does not talk to probationers. Okay. Although he may be an ICS or IAS or IPS, the revenue Shrestadar is the most important link.
And my grandfather, Umesh Dev, he had written a research book on Sankardeva in 1929 in Bangla.
Imagine.
That was printed by one of the printers in Kolkata. And it was rediscovered by Professor Nagan Saikia.
Achha. So see, so much of, so you are third generation that way in the culture.
And we are planning out that we have to bring out something like a coffee book where the manuscripts written by my grandfather, is still preserved.
Oh, see.
So let us see if we can do that.
I wish, Revenue Shirastadar, I still remember when we went as a probationer and joined in the Guwahati Kachari here, the court. We had to call on the Revenue Shirastadar.
I mean, such a big person.
He was.
So what would be in today's...
He was the link. He was basically the chief secretary of the DC's office.
Okay.
All files to the DC had to be cleared by the Revenue Shirastadar. Shirastadar means the caretaker.
Okay. But then this post was, I think, at the time of British.
No, it's still
continued.
there.
It's still there.
You cannot do without a.
Even it is still
It is
today.
there. All revenue matters have to go through the Revenue Shirastadar.
Okay.
It's otherwise called the RS.
Uh-huh.
And he was all powerful man. He could do or undo. That was the kind of control that the people had. Anyway, it's good that I have now learned that your grandfather was the Shirastadar in the DC's court. Because now, as you see, you had mentioned about INTACH, we are now trying to go into the record room of the Guwahati Electorate.
I had an experience of documenting some of those.
So you have those
Atulananda Goswami sir, he was doing a movie with Ehsan Mujid, and he asked me, can you come and do some macro images of those wonderful, very old, 18,
it dates back from 1838. You have the Kachari
and
there.
I still remember, there was one such, government document where our father had written, and it was in Bangla, that I have taken loan of 25 rupees, which I could not repay, for which I am giving my son to you forever. That was the document, which was already, and I was like, you are trading human being, that time. So that was, once upon a time Guwahati. And one thing I think you will also notice that in most of the cities, the names have been changed. Guwahati also the name was changed. But did it have that kind of a repercussion when we changed the name of the city of Mumbai?
No,
I don't think so.
No. Because what has happened is that
it was very well accepted.
Very well accepted.
Because like Calcutta moving to Kolkata, there are still people who says no, it is Calcutta.
In fact, I am one of them who still call it Calcutta because if you take out the Calcutta of Kolkata,
it becomes what it is today.
Then it becomes a very small part of Calcutta.
Exactly. And even our internet clock, even till today, they write Calcutta.
Yes. I think it's very difficult because leave aside anything. The High Court,
Guwahati University,
the Guwahati University, it's Guwahati University. The High Court is Guwahati High Court.
It won't be changed.
It cannot be changed because it involves a lot of legislation. So
what about the documents?
And then you can't change the documents, and then what will happen to us who graduated from Guwahati University?
Okay.
If someone doesn't accept our documents, it will become very difficult.
Yes.
But again, the most interesting part is that leave aside, then you had this phase of 1901, Cotton College being established by one of my ancestors, Manik Chandra Barua, who started business. Then again, Guwahati was another very important source of media.
Right.
Lot of newspapers, lot of papers, magazines and all throughout the history, which I have detailed in the book. If I go into details, it will be too long.
Yeah.
But all throughout, Guwahati, because of its central location in the whole of Brahmaputra Valley, all the way up to Sadia, or you could go into the Barak Valley from this place through Shillong. Therefore, it has always remained a media center also.
Right.
So, over the years, you had media coming in. And then again, you had a lot of games. Modern day games has to a great extent started in Guwahati. It was here that people, if you look through the memoirs of Lakshmanath Bezburwa, whose father was a judge in the Guwahati courts, he was telling about playing cricket or playing volleyball or the modern games, football. These kind of games which are the modern games, they also spread in Assam from Guwahati among the common people. Now, Tea garden people were playing amongst themselves in the Upper Assam gardens or in the Barak Valley gardens is a separate issue. But you and me, Goshtopal and Sarat Das and T.Ao coming in, or we learning to play football, was basically something which is started in Guwahati and in Jorhat. That is through the school tournament by a gentleman called Mr. Small, who was the first DPI of Assam. And Mr. Small did this big thing.
Big work.
Big thing of introducing sports into the educational curriculum, and this Lower Assam tournaments were held in Guwahati, Upper Assam tournaments, school tournaments were held in Jorhat. So this is how sports spread in, and then the school magazines.
Okay.
That again, you have a lot of things happening in Guwahati because there was this organization called the Assam Chapter which used to hold its annual meetings throughout Assam, and there they got inspired, like the earlier Renaissance people of Assam, Lakshmanath Bezbura and Chandra Kumar Agarwala, that the smaller people, can you imagine that they bought Prafulla Roy for the PC Roy, this great scientist, for the annual sessions. Or you had Rabindranath Tagore coming in and addressing these people. So there a creative atmosphere of music, dance, song began here. Then again you come to the Guwahati University and the All India Radio. And the third institution was the Guwahati School of Arts and Crafts. These three developments shaped the future.
I mean, you can all understand this. Swapnanil has come into his actual flow of talking, and he has so much to narrate. We will just take a very short break and join him in the conversation. Till then, please be with us in Pixel Narratives with Anutosh. Welcome back to Pixel Narratives with Anutosh. Continuing the conversation with Swapnanil Barua, I would like to take my viewers to those days when we had wonderful Adda, where different intellectuals from all walks of life would come and in the evening have lot of discussions, very interesting discussions, and many of them must have evolved from there into filmmakers,
Right.
actors, writers, poets, and so many.
In fact, this again, I think Guwahati is unique in the sense that it is an extension of the Adda culture of Calcutta,
Okay.
or Kolkata, if you call them today. Like it being in College Street, the coffee houses, say Adda ta aaja nahi. These kind of things happened in the Panbazar Serially because it was the education hub. You had a lot of students and you had the professors also coming in, and it was also the headquarters of all the press people coming together in the evening. So there was these small restaurants, and each group divided the restaurants among themselves.
As they were
You know,
you had Mahamaya.
So you had Mahamaya, which was there for the people who could only afford a cup of tea, or maybe share a cup of tea amongst two boys, or share one singara among it. Or then you had the Delight restaurant where the omelette was very famous, and you did it in style, and you had tea coming in not in glass tumblers but coming in cups and saucers.
Okay.
Then you had Madhumita restaurant, you had Guwahati Diary, you had Koilani, you had Ananda Jalpan, and again this Ananda Bhandar is the birthplace of a great concoction called Bundia Vijaya.
Okay.
The story behind is that one day the students of Cotton College wanted to have some tea or something. They came in late. There was nothing left behind. So what they did was they told the owner of the place, Mr. Burman, whatever is available, please give it to us. So the only thing available was a little bit of bundia and a little bit of bhujia. So what he did was that he mixed them together and gave it to them in a plate. And this was sweet and salty, the first.
That was the first time.
First time that
And
really.
it has now become the most essential part of any kind of happening in your Assamese
society,
even in the
or
Bengali
everywhere.
society.
Any
In Assam.
Adda, any Adda,
Yes,
or
yes. No,
I
even
think-
even
even in
any
social
wedding and
function.
social functions also we
So
have
Bundi-
this bundia bhujia, which is a typical. We have come to know that it originated.
And there was another restaurant
necessarily.
called Katfa, then you had
Robin Cabin.
Robin Cabin in Fancy Bazaar, you had Malabar, and Robin Cabin had a very strict instructions. He was not bothered about the customer. So he had put up a notice board there that do not ask for the state of your order before half an hour.
Okay.
A strict warning that before half an hour you could not ask. You placed your order, waited for half an hour.
So I remember people used to have their marketing after placing the order.
Yes. So
Once
they
the
used to-
order is placed, then come back and then you can have it.
Then you have it. And it was a
And
very,
it's still there.
I presume
It
it
is
is
still
still
there,
there.
yes.
It is going on to the second generation, but then again,
Guwahati Dairy is still there.
Guwahati
Mother,
Dairy.
Mahamaya is still there.
yeah, those
But
places are still. But these restaurants came and gone, and Madhumita was another place. It was the creative place. After Delight closed down in front of Lawyer's Bookstall, it was Madhumita restaurant with Gupta Babu, the manager.
Okay.
If you remember, Gupta Babu was the classical Bengali Bhadralok with his starched dhoti and the starched kurta. With the
typical
and the dhoti was the Shantipuriya one.
Okay.
With that
With that border.
small little border. And Gupta Babu was very calm and quiet. And the tables were divided among the different age groups. So the first tables were reserved for the very senior journalists, Amit Nag, Burun Dasgupta, or the Assami Anil Barua. And all the first table was reserved for the. There was a gentleman called Mr. Hamdi Beg who was reporting for Statesman. Those people, seniors, were in the front. We never, even if it was full, that seat was reserved for them.
Okay.
But there was no reservation written.
Yeah.
But that is basically
they would know that it
by
is
protocol that you are not
supposed to sit on
fit
that
enough to sit in that chair.
Okay.
So that is the kind. And then again you had the Addas in the different place. You had Ulubari had Mishti Mook, and there was this Akashi Ganga restaurant.
Yes.
I don't know whether it's still there. Then Khilpukuri had your Kopili restaurant. Then Chanmari had the Kolita Hotel. These were the institutions where people used to get together, and the discussion was of very high standard.
Yeah.
They used to discuss about what is happening in politics. They used to discuss about what was happening in what good book one person had read. He would come and recommend it, and then there would be discussions on the magazines, what article was coming out in Desh, what was coming out in Times of India, what was coming out in Statesman or Amrit Bazar Patrika.
I mean, all the creative minds would,
all
at
the
point of a
creative
time
minds
would
would go and meet there, and that is where the creative activities really happened.
Okay.
And
talking about creative activity, I think Guwahati had some really remarkable cinema houses.
cinema houses, yes.
Even just when you're talking about Robin Cabin, there were three: Urvashi, Rupayan, and Bijli. And none of them exist now.
I think Urvashi is still there.
Is it still there?
Okay. I'm told that it is still there.
Okay.
So the integral part of an...
We don't have Apsara.
we don't have
Apsara. We don't have Meghdol.
So the 40s...
Kelvin is gone.
40s and 50s, I think, was something like this, that every family outing, as you have now, today you go to, was the cinema. Every Friday a new movie came, Friday was reserved for the boys of the colleges.
Do you remember one thing? Like, I was small, I think 74 or 75 at that time, this Hathi Mera Sathi had come.
Hathi Mera Sathi had come in Apsara.
In Apsara. And that same time, you had this Amar Circus. And that time, on an ambassador car, they used to go for publicity. Those were things used to happen. This time was different. They had those elephants
Coming out
coming
parading
out
on
with the parade and things like that.
So it was,
such a
dual
wonderful-
publicity.
dual
More
publicity.
circus in Judgefield.
And the same Hathi Mere Saathi in
Hathi Mere
Apsara.
Saathi happening here. Chal mere Hathi mere Saathi. Can you
And-
imagine? And can you imagine one ticket? The maximum price was rupees 270 in Apsara. Not 270, but
Apsara
2 rupees 70 paisa. Apsara circle.
And Apsara was at that time
And
the
the-
only
the-
stereophonic
And then the air
screen, 70 mm
condition
screen.
and air condition was
And
first.
unfortunately that we don't
That-
have Apsara anymore with us.
So
And
those-
you remember there were two cinema halls which were, basically there were one lastly. It was Vandana which used to show only Hollywood movies and Kelvin also.
Oh, and another thing I think the children have missed was something called the Sunday morning show. Sunday morning show was a reserve for English movies.
No, but then
But
Vandana
Vandana
and Kelvin.
again and Kelvin had again English movies
Ah.
showing on regular shows.
And I-
but every hall in Guwahati was showing a morning show of English movies, especially westerns.
And one more thing, you must have come across. Vandana used to show during the intervals some slides. And the last slide was make Vandana a habit. And everyone sitting there were known to each other by face because we were the same people coming to the same show every Friday and Saturday. And that was the best, Hollywood films that used to come every week.
Yeah,
A new film.
The Gypsy Camp Vanishes into the Blue was another great movie.
Tora. All those films used to come.
Sarraj,
And
their younger son used to study with me, was my class friend, Kamaljeet Singh. Oh, no, Balvinder Singh. He's unfortunately passed away in COVID. So that is the tragic part of COVID. And the hall also after that closed down.
Yeah.
So that
most of the halls have come down. McDude has gone.
McDude has.
Kelvin has become a shopping
Now
mall.
it has become.
Rupasri has gone.
And imagine Rupasri, all
Bengali
the Bengali movies coming there.
Devi
And-
Jyotirani, Ananda Ashram.
Oh, I still remember.
And you remember one
My
film?
first movie of
Uttam
Rupasri
Kumar.
was Uttar Phalguni.
Yeah.
Bikash Rai and Suchitra Sen. That was when we realized the pulse of acting. What can a great actor do?
And you remember one more cinema hall, Chaudhary?
Chaudhary Talkies. That was
the
where
cinema hall is
Sangam-
still there.
But
But it doesn't work.
that was where we saw Sangam,
Okay.
which had 2 intervals.
It's such a long film.
It was such a long
Right,
film.
right.
Mera Naam Joker in Anuradha was again 2 interval movies. These were the kind of small little pleasures we had.
And, I would not end my show unless we would come to know about the beginning of the government school of art that we have. Because I think Swapnanil Barua would be the right person to talk about it because it is from his generation. We have just heard stories about it. Let us hear from him how this art college had actually started. Right from Jiveswar Barua, Asudev, and Nilaban Barua and other. So,
Okay, now I think, the Calcutta School of Art, people who were earlier familiar, in Russell Street you had this Bengal School of Art.
right.
So a lot of people either went to Shantiniketan or went to the Bengal School of Art to learn painting. Now, in Calcutta there was intense competition. So what could they do when they came back? So this is when we had the first seeds of a school of modern painting and sculpture starting in Guwahati, in Bhorlumuk. Jiveswar Barua came in, Asudev I think came in from Shillong. He was initially in Shillong, and then other people got together. Shobha Brahmo, later on, Shobha Brahmo, and then the school went on for quite some time. It was, I think, government used to give a grant, so people.
That was later part.
Ah.
But initially it started near the Kalpana Hotel.
Kalpana Hotel.
They had this Ruby studio.
The Ruby Studio,
with
just
Jiveswar
around the
Barua.
turning.
Yeah.
Ruby Studio is, if you remember now, there's this Ghar. The Ghar building just behind that was Ruby Art Studio, and unfortunately that got burned down. But if we could have saved Ruby Art Studio and gone into its archives, I think the whole of Guwahati would have been reconstructed for at least the last 100 years.
Right.
From
Even College Studio had a lot of
College Studio had a lot of portraits.
Yeah.
But because Ruby used to do photographs for the publicity department,
Right.
and the photographs that would come out in the paper were developed in
in
Ruby Art House.
Okay.
You know, Pulindas used to come and get them developed there and
Right,
take it.
right.
So that was a part of history. That is where near Kalpana Hotel this thing started. Then I think gradually it continued. Some government assistance came in. Around the 60s, it went on to Bhorlumukh at
Santipur.
Santipur. And around that time, I think I must thank that it was a reciprocal arrangement that art could not happen like this as a venture affair. You could not have a venture school of the only art institution in the state. So finally, I think it was Ashudev then who impressed upon my father, who was the Director of Cultural Affairs. The Director of Cultural Affairs was just a new department,
Right.
started in 1971 or 72. So by 74, you had the government take it over. And
Yeah,
then.
but don't you think? I always had this, yes, this is one of the oldest art institutions. Would it not have been better if this art college would have been in the Guwahati University campus?
Definitely. I think fine arts had never been thought of. Again, your question raises whether we are still have the awareness about art.
Because
And whether we consider it to be a part of the broader curriculum, which is now being put
now,
into the
21st century,
new education
all-
policy,
right.
and all have
And,
put this over.
all the universities, wherever you go, is a multidisciplinary
Yeah,
universities,
yes.
where every student has the opportunity to either study a foreign language
Or
with the course that he or she has been doing, or take up fine arts, take up photography, take up something. So I always feel that we made some mistakes.
I think that was a mistake
Putting
on the-
the Guwahati, the Government Art College Guwahati in a place quite away, detached from the Guwahati University. I think it is high time we can bring it back.
I think before, let's say 75, 76, art as a part of society
Was not.
was
Not a priority.
the only artist that was important was those in Kelvin Cinema who were painting the
Right.
movie, because you didn't have
Posters.
then
We
you
had
didn't
huge
have,
banners.
You had huge banners
That
where
to
artists,
handprint.
you had to hang them, and they used to draw. But before that, I think artists were required only in Saraswati Puja and Durga Puja pandal decoration.
Exactly.
So we didn't have that sensibility in Assam, possibly till the late 70s, when we realized that the formation of the art Assam Fine Arts Craft Society, and subsequently the
Guwahati Artists Guild. Yeah.
or the role of Nilpawan Barua sitting alone in the midst of Judgefield in that thing, or the contributions about Asudev and all holding exhibitions. So that sensibility is a development of hardly 50 years now. And I don't think the academia has still understood the importance of arts as a part of the total cultural landscape.
Right, right.
That you cannot have symmetrical life without art. I mean, the importance of art is that it does a symmetry. You draw a line, a straight line or a curved line to form what is known as a form in art. That kind of, and that lays the basis of, you cannot have a building which is not designed.
Right.
Hmm?
So,
That sensibility, I think, has come in now.
Talking to Swapnanil Barua in the different topics, there is something like he has written 9 books till today. From the Boatman of the River, The Heart Left Behind, the Assamese Shillong, which we have been talking about in the previous episode, Guwahati, A Tale of the City, A Whiff of Change, those are a collection of essays, Pandemic and more, again a collection of essays mostly during the COVID times.
Yeah, COVID times.
And then you had this History of Assam Sahitya Sabha, this Atmanirbhar Bharat, and this book, The Elixir of the World and the Short History of Assam and Cultures of Assam, and Guwahati. So, these books are, such wonderful thoughts that have been penned down in different books, in different forms, that gives us an insight to the past of not only Assam, but the entire Northeast, how the Northeast has come up what it is today. And it is, in spite of his work as a bureaucrat, he has taken interest in theatre, drama, cinema, television, and now writing books. I cannot end my program without asking him one question. Do you have any regrets when you were on the chair?
Well, the regret is always there that I could never meet the demand, which I personally realize is a very genuine demand. Let's say I wanted to buy more paintings because after my father left the chair, there has been no government patronage of the artists.
Right.
There was no patronage of the classical artists.
Right.
Because they could not afford the stage. So that at least at the risk of AG, Accountant General, writing adverse comments on the audit, I took the risk and said that the stage is yours, I can't give you anything more. But at least I can give you the stage, please carry on with your activities. So that was the regret, that I felt that there was a lot more to be done, but because of financial constraints or because of administrative constraints, I could not give everyone the opportunity they deserved, genuinely.
One more thing is, what was your feeling, or how did you feel when you first entered that same office where once upon a time the first director, cultural affairs, was sitting, your father was sitting on that chair, and you entered that same room, also in the same post as an IAS officer?
The difficulty was, it was a mixed feeling, because one was that I felt great that I would be sitting in the same chair where my father sat. In fact, the same chair means the furniture also was the same.
Exactly, that's what.
The chair means this chair where my father sat and the table where he sat was where I also sat. So the furniture remained the same. But then again I realized that I had a responsibility, or rather liability, of living up to the reputation of the foundation which he had laid for the Cultural Affairs Department, of bringing all the arts together, from the folk artist to the modern artist, to the classical artist, to the traditional artist, bringing all them together and presenting this to the wider canvas in Kolkata maybe, or maybe taking Bhavna to Indonesia.
Right.
Those kind of things which he could have done. Can I live up to their expectations? So we were going through very difficult times. The government then didn't really have money. We are in a phase of transition, but still then, I think I had a great amount of personal satisfaction because of the support which I got from the artist community.
Right.
We could reorganize the art gallery, state art gallery, build it up, inaugurate it. We got a lighting system for the drama artists.
Right. You had a wonderful Rabindranath.
The atmosphere. And then for the new artists, I said that, why do you need if Rabindranath could have theatre and music in the open? So I said that, let us clear the parking lot for one day and give it free to young artists. That you take, the evening is yours, I'll give you light and mic, you carry on whatever you want to do. So that was how we began, and I think it was one of the most pleasure periods of my service career, where I really enjoyed working.
So that was a very honest conversation with Swapnanil Barua. I'm sure the viewers must have enjoyed both the episodes that we had conducted back to back. With that, we have come to the end of Pixel Narratives with Anutosh in this episode, talking to Swapnanil Barua. Till next, goodbye.